Hello everyone, welcome back to the TJOmega channel for day 1309 of our daily content grind. So, one thing that I came off of TFCon realizing is that it's become a running joke at this point that every time TFCon does a third-party panel for reveals, there's going to be Constructicons. Either more for a team that is halfway through release, or a brand new team announced despite all the others that are currently on the market, because everyone thinks they've got the version, right? Everyone thinks their version is the version. Props to everyone out there who has made that attempt. I do want to do a video at some point that's literally just looking over every third-party Devastator out there, which I'm pretty sure at this point is like an hour-long video. Truth is, I don't know enough about third-party to really do that deep dive examination. So instead, we are going to be doing our best here. As someone who is relatively outside the third-party realm and only dips into it here and there, I thought I would offer up my ideas and my creative input to let people know what else can you do, instead of just presenting the exact same 6 Constructicons every single time with the exact same tricks, gimmicks, looks, but just slightly different aesthetic choices, slightly different gimmicks. Let's come up with something a little bit fresher, something you haven't quite done yet. We can start easy. We can start with the really easy stuff. One thing that you really don't get a lot out of third-party Devastators is recolors and repaints. I think I saw, I think Hercules, like the original one, I want to say was done in shattered glass colors, which made it look more like the Protectobots, if I remember right. But beyond that, I don't really see him do recolors every now and then, maybe a G2 yellow. But no one's gone to the G2 orange, the KB toy version, but we can go farther back. Where's my Diaclone? Admittedly, third party doesn't go to Diaclone too often, but Diaclone is that sweet spot of like, this is a small enough production run, like third party toys are a small enough production run to where like you would tap the people who would be genuinely interested in owning a piece like this to get the Constructicons in their original coloration. Diaclone, again, rare amongst third party, but it does happen. It does happen. Now, there's 2 versions you can go with. There is a yellow and orange version. I tend to like this version a little bit more. Now, granted, it does come off a little bit knockoff because you were working a lot of extra colors in there. Random gray parts are thrown in, but I don't know. I think this has a little bit more charm to it. It certainly has a little bit more variety. You know, a Diaclone Devastator probably would be in the 2-tone orangish yellow that you're more familiar with when you hear of Diaclone Devastator. But I think this one just has a little bit more character to it, even if it isn't as well known. Still, easy repaint. Any Devastator could do it at any time. Haven't seen one do it yet. So, I've seen other tricks and other gimmickry to how Devastators work at this point. There is someone, they did the cube bots, the ones that also turned into like very Beast Box style cubes. That's kind of funny. Third-party company is currently doing a Devastator where the arms and legs are swapped. So like Mixmaster is going to be an arm for once. Okay, that's a little bit different and weird. Can I get full Scramble City? As long as we're throwing in things like perfect combination, or you can switch it between toy and Sunbow versions, and like crazy things they're coming up with for third-party Devastators just to stand out at this point. Has anyone done one that I can actually combine with their other combiners? You know, like there's tons of third-party companies out there at this point. Someone has got to have released all like Scramble City combiners with actual Scramble City tech. You're probably not going to see that in any modern ones, admittedly, because everyone is now obsessed with perfect transformation, no extra parts, all of it is built in. So obviously Scramble City is not something that's going to be compatible with that. But the old school ones, the ones that everyone was originally going nuts for, they did that. They actually transform kind of similar to how all those third party, all the original combiners did. So why not do it again? And then why not throw Devastator in there, because he's never been able to mix it up with the other combiners. Also, this would make you figure out the functionality of getting, Bone Crusher to be both an arm and a leg. And, you would, instead of just swapping the position, you actually get to have the Scramble City play pattern with Devastator, which is something no one's ever been able to do before. That'd be my wish. That would actually make me curious. That's one of those weird things that actually make me more curious about your other third-party combiners, because obviously I would need other things to play with. So there's an idea. It obviously a little bit more engineering involved, but hey, there's crazier things out there right now. Here's one people were talking about years ago, and there were some motions made on it, but I still have not seen one come to reality. Prowlestator. The Prowlestator from IDW, where Prowl ended up taking over for Hook, and Hook ended up taking over a leg because Scrapper was killed. So you could do this, and this is something that I feel like any company doing a Devastator could do this at any moment. I don't think it has to be specifically designed to actually be revolve around Prowl. I think Prowl just has to be able to transform into some form and mode that takes the place of Hook. Whatever engineering it takes to do that, I think that's all you really need out of this one. And then Hook would have to be a little bit more engineered, because ideally the same hook that forms the torso forms a leg in order to completely fill out that gap. Or you'd have to come up with a brand new one for Wedge. You'd have to come up with a Constructicon Wedge to take Scrapper's place. But people remember Hook as the leg, and I think you'd have to figure out how to make Hook the leg. That one is a little bit trickier, because Hook's already got to do a lot torso mode. You might need to do it a second figure. However, it's, again, a Devastator we haven't seen, but a lot of people were talking about it. The last time I saw it was like a year ago. A company announced like a Devastator, and all they had to show were third-party CAD models. And that's it. Okay, and you could see a Prowl and how it was intended to be designed. For all I know, for everything I've looked up, I have not seen anyone who's actually done it. I would still like to see it, even if the IDW stories have got some age on them now. I think it'd still be fun. Speaking of fun, let's just do crazy stuff. Let's do crazy things with your Devastator. Instead of just doing like the standard 6 Devastator pieces, why not try for true G1 accuracy and do 8? Figure out how to get me 8 Constructicons into that combination. I dare you. Because keep in mind, in 5 Faces of Darkness, 8 Constructicons were shown at the same time. Some actually look like the actual full Constructicons. Some have some liberties taken. Some are a little bit different. Obviously, there's head designs in there that were never seen in the original toy line. You could play around with this. You could, get a little bit more creative with the combination. Maybe shore some things up. Maybe there's a smaller Constructicon that forms the right foot, so Scrapper isn't So instead, you don't have just big block left foot, high heels on the right foot. Maybe if you actually did something weird like this, you'd have ways of shoring up certain parts. Maybe that's, maybe in a second, maybe an extra member who separates into the combiner parts is the trick, kind of weaponizer style, where he fully transforms on his own, but you also had to break him up into the forearms, the chest, etc. Things like that start to come to mind. Or, there's just crazy options become available when you think of Devastator and go, maybe not 6, maybe we do 8. Screw it. Go all the way. TF Wiki says there's 16. Vehicle Voltron, this whole thing. Don't every piece. There are no cheat pieces anymore. There's no separate pelvis. There's no separate forearms. No chest wing thing. They're all Transformers. They all have a robot mode. Obviously, I'm joking here. Be hysterical, though. Literally every iteration of a Constructicon in any G1 canon. All at the same time. You know it would sell. Like anything Constructicon's going to sell no matter what. Speaking of, why are you limiting yourself? See, I kind of go on this tangent about like, oh, Five Faces of Darkness showed 8 Constructicons. You know, TF Wiki says that in all together, there's about 16 of them. I do this because we have room to expand. Make new ones. Imagine, if you will, you take 6 Constructicon vehicles that have, 6 construction vehicles that have never been Constructicons, and you actually make new Constructicons out of them. So you have, things like this, which is, I know it's a trench digger, but it looks like a giant chainsaw. This should be a giant chainsaw. You don't even need to make this transform. Like Bone Crusher or Scavenger just fall off and they just pick this truck up and slap it on. And I would just have a big chainsaw arm. Like I'm Ash from Evil Dead. Except if I lopped off hands with it, they're combiner mode hands, they just pop on again. Point being, you have a lot of popular construction vehicles that have never been used before, and there's so many super cool ones. Easy ones, like a steamroller. Easy one to do, right? I mean, not easy engineering-wise, certainly not that, but you actually have the capacity to do something different. You have the capacity to do something weird. And if you go the extra mile and make it swappable with your existing Devastator, well, now it's just cool. I've only seen one third-party company approach an idea like that, and that was Feral Rex, coming up with, I believe it was Catilla? They took a G1 cat, I want to say it was Catilla, and they did a retool of one of their bots, so you had a swappable alternative. And that made it a little bit more interesting, like, okay, randomly there's a 6th member to the team, and that was kind of a cool way of working in another G1 character without having to like do up a completely new mold. Because what are you gonna do? Make 2 giant cat transformers? Kind of a smart idea. And you could do that here too. And the added playability of all these swappable Constructicons would be absolutely fantastic. Oh, and I haven't just come up with this and gone like, oh, hey, yeah, you figure out what it looks like. I brought you a visual example, because this is another one I wouldn't mind. Micromaster Constructicons. Base it off of this. And look, you could basically do it the same way, like you could have all the combiner bits that form into a big jet that someone can ride in, or it can just be like a drone jet or something. The point is, you make this the counterpart, like the side piece, not like that. You make this like a secondary Devastator. Essentially, you imagine when Power Rangers had like a secondary Megazord show up, kind of the same vibe. And yeah, all the parts are exchangeable. You can like swap any arm or any arm with any other arm, etc., etc. So you can come up with these crazy weird combinations, or you can make it look more symmetrical if you want, things like that. Or if you keep the same engineering here, you could go full Megazord with it. All those combiner parts that form a jet. What if we armor up the original Devastator with those? So we got a squad of Constructicons on the ground, and all their combiner pieces have enhanced the main Devastator. So now you kind of have this like, now you have this like, again, like a Power Ranger vibe, almost like the Falcon Zord flew in and combined. Fun stuff, right? Like, this is where we get fun, weird things. And you could work in like all of these kind of ideas, like this design here. This works with the swappable gimmick. This works with brand new Constructicons. You can even throw in some of those names from the list of 16. Gravedigger could be in here. Buckethead could be in here. Hightower could be in here. Whoever, right? This is a great little avenue to get more in. I love this idea. And I'm giving it to you for free. Someone please do it. Also, if we want something weird, I want something weird. We haven't gotten weird in here just yet. Anyone. I will give it to you 2 ways. You can either make me that Scorpion that turns into a cannon for your existing Devastator, and it can be like the bonus piece when you release your box set of G2 Constructicons, or please be completely mad about this and give me a proper Action Master Devastator toy. Fully articulated in a way that a combiner can't be, but does not separate into individual Constructicons. Oh, I will not make it an action figure. I want it to transform, but I want it to be some kind of chaotic, like, engine of destruction that's just just like a bunch of construction vehicles mashed together. I want this thing to have like a dozen wheels and 6 caterpillar treads, multiple shovels in the front, all of the like hanging arms of like Hook and Scavenger, like in the back is like vestigial limbs scraping up whatever's left underneath it that might still be alive after it's run it over. You know, fun stuff. It'd be a fun engineering experiment just to see if you could actually make some kind of symmetrical vehicle out of it. I think that alone is worth the price point of entry, right? So, fun, weird stuff. Like this is my direction here. Fun and weird and new ideas for Devastator. I'm going to repeat an idea I had in the past, but I think it's worth repeating. One of the favorite things I have for third-party toys is when they flip styles of vehicle and alternate mode. My favorite Bakan set of all time is Dawn of Futures Past, where they took all these Cybertronian vehicles and used them to cast the Beast Wars cast pre-Earth. Genius idea. I hate that it's so expensive. I will never own it. However, it bleeds the other way for me. Some of the third-party toys I enjoy the most were things like Red Bull. You know, the sideswipe that turns into a bull. That's creative, aside from the fact that it was plagiarized from someone else's artwork. But it is different, and it's unique, and I think it's a lot of fun. And I have, like, the Bumblebee that turns into a tiger in a very, you know, Lio Convoy way. And it's a little jank. It's not a fantastic third-party toy, but I still really, really like the vibe and the look, you know? Like, I love that switch, you know? And I've proposed that before. You do the Constructicons as Beast Wars Insect style, where it's all kinds of, like, carpenter, like, bugs. And you can do it with just nothing but bugs, because, hey, I want a Mantis Transformer in here somewhere. But things like ants and termites and things that, you know, do dig and build, and that actually gets in like your thematic idea behind the Constructicons. At least most of them have to be like builder bugs, but you know, I'm just repeating the idea because it's still an idea I absolutely love. Also, I fully acknowledge that this would mean that 36 bug legs would be hanging off of this toy, looking immensely creepy, and no matter what you do with it. I am fully okay with this. And I'm going to wrap it up with the idea that's kind of kickstarted the idea behind this video. The thing that occurred to me, like, why has no third party done this? Because this is absolutely genius, and it solves a few problems at the same time. Autobot retool. So how crazy is this idea? So, yeah, you make a Devastator, and it's a fine Devastator. However, there is room in the molding and the tooling to take a lot of the Autobot construction vehicles and use them instead. So you have like a scavenger, or or you have a scrapper rather, that can be retooled into Scoop, and Scoop now becomes like your leg piece. You know, there is not a lot of visual difference between G1 landfill and heavy load. So you could absolutely hang on. Wide load. Okay. It's been a day. It's been a day. It's been a day. You'll excuse me if I switch a few things up. Long haul. There's the name I was trying to come up with. It's been a day. It's been a day. Someone corrected me in the comments. Go delete it. Point being, those two have very little visual difference between each other. You could absolutely retool one into the other, and it would pass for them completely fine. You know, obviously things like grapple are going to be weird. Quick mix is going to be weird because you're going to have to figure out how to get that that mixmaster tooled so that the barrel chest could eventually, or like the drum barrel could eventually become the torso itself and push through to the belly. Also, obvious flaw to this plan, I've only got 4. Now, there is a replacement for Bone Crusher in the Construction Patrol in the old Micromaster sets. I can't remember his name offhand. But there is one in there. The one I can't replace is Scavenger. For Scavenger, you would literally have to like borrow like Armada Hoist or something. Because there's no Autobot excavator that I have run across outside of RID 2001 Grimlock, and that's just another green construction vehicle. I would rather we stick to these tones of like oranges, browns, reds. Like, I feel like we're building something here. The irony is it would kind of go back to looking like the Diaclone color Devastator in a super kind of weird way. I like how it comes all the way around like that. So this is me just spitballing some ideas. To my knowledge, none of these have been done, but if third party wants to give me weird Constructicons, or they at least just want to do something different, please do something different besides just going, my Tech Greeble looks better than your Tech Greeble. Ha ha! Give me something better than that. I need fresh ideas. I like similar to how normal Transformers are. I think third party also needs fresh ideas. So this is just me throwing a few out there for you. Let me know what you think of the set ideas. What's your favorite one? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, I will see you next time.
Hello everyone, I am Astral Agent Magnetar, a Tokusatsu VTuber, and I am streaming 4 times a week over on Twitch, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday afternoons, and a special late night one on late Friday/early Saturday. So come watch, come hang out, and let's make an impact together.